All right, let's talk drones, because according to a really fascinating analysis from HDIN Research, 2025 wasn't just another year of growth for the drone industry. Oh no. It was the year the entire rulebook got torn up, completely reshaping the game for everyone involved.
So here's the bottom line, the big idea for today. 2025 was the year the drone industry literally fractured. You see, the old race, just building faster, better hardware, that was over. In its place, a totally new kind of competition kicked off, one fought between entirely different ways of doing business.
So what exactly caused this big split? Well, think of it like a new logic chip being installed across the entire industry, a fundamental change to its core operating system. The old playbook, the one that defined that first era of commercial drones, it wasn't just updated, it was thrown out and replaced with something brand new.
And this right here, this captures that shift perfectly. The old way was super straightforward. You build a drone, you sell a drone, you get paid once. Simple. But the new way, and this is really the future, it's all about selling what the drone delivers. We're talking about drone as a service, or DaaS. It's a recurring revenue model built on providing data, insights, even full citywide management. It's a total game changer.
And if you want to see the power of that new model in action, just look at this number, $14.75 million. That's the value of a single service contract won by a company called JOUAV. Their Smart Bajong project is basically a comprehensive citywide management system. We're talking monitoring infrastructure, traffic, public services, all from the air. It just goes to show you that one big long-term service contract can be way more valuable than selling hundreds of individual drones.
Now, this new focus on drone as a service didn't just change the business models, it completely reshuffled the deck. The whole competitive landscape got resorted. Now, the key players fall into one of three distinct tiers. You've got the established leaders at the very top, the scrappy challengers trying to knock them off their perch, and then the super specialized niche players who are carving out their own unique territory.
So here's a quick look at who's who in this new world. Up in the leaders tier, you've got the heavyweight, CH Aerospace, bringing that massive military-grade scale. Right alongside them is JOUAV, the pioneer in that government-focused DaaS space. Then you have the challengers, right? Companies like Japan's ACSL and America's AgEagle, who are smartly using geopolitics and compliance to get a leg up. And finally, you have the niche players, like Unusual Machines, who are laser-focused on just one piece of the puzzle, like building very specific compliant parts.
The difference between the two leaders really tells you the whole story. On one hand, you have CH Aerospace. This is a giant, and their huge revenue comes from taking their military tech background and just dominating large-scale hardware sales. But on the other hand, you have JUAV. Now, they're smaller in revenue for sure, but they're arguably defining the future of the commercial market with this government-focused service model. It's a classic battle, scale versus strategy.
Now, for the challengers and niche players, this quote right here is everything. It gets to the very heart of their strategy. Geopolitics has become a massive force in this market. Specifically, things like the U.S. National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, which basically restricts the use of drone parts from certain countries in government work. And what that's done is create a vacuum in the market, a huge opportunity for any company that can step in and offer a compliant, secure supply chain.
And you can see exactly how they're jumping on this. ACSL from Japan is gunning for the North American market by offering a completely non-Chinese supply chain, from top to bottom. In the US, a company called Unusual Machines isn't even selling full drones. Nope. They're focused on making the guts, the critical components like motors and flight controllers that are NDAA compliant. And then there's AgEagle, which uses its Blue UAS certification like a golden ticket to get into the very lucrative US defense market. For these guys, compliance isn't just a feature on a spec sheet, it's their entire business model.
But here's the thing. Impressive strategies and exciting growth stories, they're only one part of the picture. When you actually start digging into the financial reports, a much more complicated and, frankly, concerning story starts to emerge. Those big headline numbers, they don't always tell the truth, and analysts have spotted some pretty significant red flags we need to talk about.
So let's go back to JOAV for a second. As the big DaaS pioneer, seeing them post a profit in 2025, that seems like a huge win, right? Proof that the new service model works. But the really critical question that analysts started asking was, how? How exactly did they pull off that profitability?
Well, the answer is right here in this number, $7.68 million. This is the amount of R&D spending that JOAV capitalized in 2025. Now, in simple terms, that means instead of counting that money as a cost for the year, they recorded it as a long-term asset on their books. Now, it's a perfectly legal accounting move,
but it has the direct effect of making your profits look bigger. It can potentially turn what might have been a loss into a gain, at least on paper.
And this isn't just a Jualev thing. This kind of financial weirdness is a theme across the industry. Analysts flag the heavyweight CA Aerospace for having really high accounts receivable. That's a lot of money they're owed that they haven't collected yet. Juave's profit was labeled low quality because of that R&D move and because their receivables were also soaring. And get this, for unusual machines, the stock-based compensation they paid their own team was over $15 million, which completely dwarfed their actual revenue. It really clouds the picture of how the business is actually doing.
Okay, so pulling all this together, what does it all mean for the drone industry as we head into 2026 and beyond? Let's break down the final verdict into the key trends that are really going to define this new era in the skies.
It really boils down to three things you absolutely need to know. First, geopolitics. They're creating these hard ceilings on where some companies can even compete, while at the same time opening up protected markets for others. Second, the move to drone as a service? It's not a choice anymore. It's an imperative for long-term survival. And third, investors and partners have got to look past the shiny headline numbers and get serious about scrutinizing the real financial health of these companies.
At the end of the day, what this evolution in 2025 really shows us is that winning is no longer about just having the coolest tech. The future belongs to the companies that can master that really complex intersection of global politics, innovative business models, and just plain old sound financial discipline.
And that's our look at the state of the skies. If you want to take a much deeper dive into all the data points, the financials, and the company profiles, you can find the complete 2025 industry report over at HDIN Research. Thanks so much for joining us.